afternoon, friends. In my previous lecture, I discussed public choice theory. I discussed how public choice theory redefined efficiency in public administration, and it streamlined the necessity of addressing the diverse set of preferences of individuals, groups, and communities. If you recall, I discussed that public choice theory emphasizes that if public agencies, governmental agencies, are not managed in a way that they address the problems of diversity of preferences, or they widen, or they provide a wide range of goods and services. If they are not managed this way, they cannot be called efficient. So main concern of public choice theory, as I discussed in my previous lecture, main concern was to acknowledge the right to choice of the people. It is just not enough to provide goods and services. We need to interact with society. We need to understand their the different set of preferences, likes and dislikes, and accordingly the administrative machinery should be organized. There should be more than one institutions, there should be more than one agencies providing same goods and services, so that there could be some kind of competition, and this competition, one government can widen the range of choices for people. This is the basic idea of public choice theory. I discussed, and then I also discussed the contextual backdrop of public choice theory, that how it originated in 1960s, mainly from the state versus market debate, because many scholars and thinkers started raising this question that why should we depend on state agencies only for different kinds of goods and services, because the experience of the society was not so good with the bureaucratic administration. So many scholars started raising this question, that this inefficiency or corruption or this complacency in state agencies mainly because of lack of competition, lack of institutional pluralism. So therefore, some scholars, they streamlined the necessity of organizing administrative machineries in such a way that in different areas of goods and services, you have more than one institutions, you have competition, and that competition will not only bring down, the cost of production and the price for goods and services, it holds ample potential to widen the range of choices. This was the basic idea behind public choice theory. I discussed also, then I discussed, if you recall, that how public choice theory became more and more popular, and it could be seen in application in European countries and then America. So it flourished, you can say, and it started getting more and more ground under Thatcherism, the Great Britain, under the leadership of Margaret Thatcher, and Ronald Reagan, under the leadership of Ronald Reagan in America. So this public choice theory, and the idea behind public choice theory started getting ground in most of the countries, and today you can see all over the world this has become the reality, thanks to increasingly globalizing world. Then I discussed who contributed mainly in the development of public choice theory. Then I discussed that chief exponent of public choice theory is Vincent Ostrom. Vincent Ostrom, he in a way defined the contours of public choice theory, and he defined and explained the philosophy behind the public choice theory, the what kind of state, what kind of state we need to have, what kind of state can address the problems related to diversity of preferences, what kind of state can actually provide value for money for the individuals, those who are willing to buy goods and services. So it means redefine the things, that instead of talking tall about socialism or capitalism or good governance and this and that, it's better for the government to focus more on economic rationality, effective, efficient and prudent deployment of resources, and then widening of the range of choices, so that people are happy, because economy and the manner economy is managed, the manner in which economy is managed, the manner in which goods and services are provided with the efficiency, it holds a lot of significance. And popular perception of good governance also largely revolves around how the things are being managed, goods and services are being managed in the economy. So we discussed the Vincent Ostrom's contribution, that Vincent Ostrom, while dealing with public choice theory, Vincent Ostrom provided a very credible intellectual critique against bureaucratic administration. In simple words, Vincent Ostrom not only developed the model of public choice theory. Before that, first of all, he exposed the limitations of bureaucratic administration which had been developed under the inspired by the writings of Gulick and Urwik or Max Weber or Feuer. So on the one hand, he exposed the limitations of classical writers, he exposed the limitations of bureaucratic administration inspired by the writings of classical writers, and then on the other hand, he developed and he delivered his model of democratic administration. So on the one hand, on the Vincent Ostrom, on the one hand, exposed the limitations. He criticized and presented a very convincing intellectual critique against typical bureaucratic administration, and then on the other hand, he delivered the model of, he advocated for the model of democratic administration. Vincent Ostrom was of the view that democratic administration is the most efficient administration. And what were the limitations that he exposed related to bureaucratic administration? Excessive rule orientation. One giant, huge, super-causal monolithic structure. He found that bureaucratic administration was largely monocentric. It was largely monolithic in structure. It means one giant bureaucracy providing different kinds of goods and services. So that's why there was little room for widening the range of choices for the people. Everywhere you have the same administrative agencies being managed in the same manner, same set of rules and procedures, and the personnel are appointed personnel, the members are appointed by the same recruitment process. So most of the things are uniform. So how can there be widening of the range of goods and services? The same kind of goods and services were being provided to the society. So he exposed the limitations of bureaucratic administration. What were the main grounds? That it was not adequately designed to address the diversity of preferences. It was one giant monolithic structure providing different kinds of goods and services. Excessive rule orientation, procedural complications, and then wall of separation between the bureaucratic administration, bureaucracy on the one hand, and society on the other. The lack of interaction between bureaucracy and society. So if there is no interaction between bureaucrats on the one hand and society on the other, so how can you understand the likes, dislikes, and preferences of the society? And if you don't have any idea about such preferences, how can you design your product, goods, and services so as to satisfy the society or to address their diverse set of preferences? To that extent, bureaucratic administration was not so much efficient. Even all over the world, wherever you find this kind of administration, you can say that is not so much efficient. Why? Because you are just providing goods and services. You are not thinking about utility maximization. You are providing them the same set of goods and services without addressing their likes, dislikes, and preferences. So this kind of administration, according to Vincent Ostrom, was not an efficient administration, not very much effective. It's clear. On the other hand, he advocated for democratic administration, modern democratic administration. He suggested that this model should replace the bureaucratic administration. So what kind of democratic administration? What kind of model it is? So Vincent Ostrom was of the view that the structure of bureaucracy, structure of administration should be made polycentric rather than monocentric. Instead of one giant bureaucracy providing different kinds of goods and services, Vincent Ostrom suggested that we need to work on the structure. It should be polycentric, less vertical, more horizontal. So different institutions, different agencies competing against each other, and they are providing goods and services. In most of the areas, you have more than one institutions, public or private, competing against each other. So it's not like one bureaucracy sitting in the center managing everything. So first of all, he suggested the structure should be made more horizontal than vertical. It should be polycentric rather than monocentric. So dispersal of authority and power. And then he suggested that the bureaucracy should be trained and bureaucratic machinery should be designed in such a way that they are constantly in touch with society so that they could understand the likes, dislikes, and preferences. Accordingly, goods and services could be designed. Some kind of feedback mechanism. You collect feedback from the society and then you improve the quality of goods and services. Something like, circulatory process, cyclical process, I mean to say, cyclical process. It means bureaucracy and administration should be designed in such a way that they become the part of a self-sustaining cyclical process with society. You have input and the throughput, then output. It goes to the public, then you collect feedback from the public, and once again, the input, the process goes on and on. So Vincent Ostrom was in favor of this kind of democratic administration. He advocated for democratic administration instead of bureaucratic administration. So now the question arises. So finally, when Vincent Ostrom is calling for democratic administration, what are the important features of such democratic administration? So there are four important features of this democratic administration, although there can be other points as well, but most important thing, the 4 points I'm discussing. The first one is divided authority. Vincent Ostrom said that your administrative machinery should be designed in such a way that authority does not get, concentrated at one place. Authority is dispersed. Authority is dispersed, authority is divided properly between the political and administrative leadership. Second thing that he suggested, one of the features of Vincent Ostrom's model of democratic administration, he rejected the doctrine of politics and dichotomy. Third thing that he suggested that there should be democratization of administration, and the fourth he suggested that there should be decentralization. So there are the four important features of democratic administration, model of democratic administration, which was suggested by Vincent Ostrom. The first one, as I said, the first one is related to divided authority, and second is rejection of politics administration dichotomy, and the third is democratization of administration, and the fourth is decentralization. One by one, I am going to discuss it. The first point that Vincent Ostrom suggested, that divided authority. So he suggests that there should not be concentration of authority at one place. It should be properly divided between political leadership and administrative leadership. It has to be done with a lot of care, a lot of anticipatory flair, your understanding of the past and the future that you see, a lot of things, because he suggested this mainly to restrict the unlimited powers of political leadership or political leaders. Why? Because Vincent Ostrom was of the view that political leadership takes any decision considering tens of factors which may not be so much relevant from the administrative point of view. In the wake of corruptibility of political leaders, in the view of the corruptibility of political leaders and a lot of ups and downs in the political world, and their consideration of several factors which may not be directly concerned with administration, is suggested that the power, authority or discretionary power of the political leadership should be restricted. Otherwise, qualitatively deficient decision may be taken. So first thing that he suggested, that authorities should be divided. It's not like political leadership has all ultimate authority of everything. Political leadership and administrative leadership, the equation of relationship should be redefined, should be redefined in such a way that they don't have too much of, there's little room for political leaders to exercise any kind of arbitrariness in the name of discretionary power. So divide the authority, limit the power of the political leadership. The reason being that political world is the world of lot of opportunism, ups and downs, and here the decisions are taken not on the basis of facts only, but values are also taken into consideration, which may not always be in the interest of society. So divide the authority and restrict the excessive power of the political leadership. And then second thing that Vincent Ostrom emphasized, that he rejected the doctrine of politics administration dichotomy. Vincent Ostrom was of the view that this is not a good idea. The political world and administrative world, they are divided. Political world is concerned with policy making, and then administration is concerned with policy implementation. He rejected the politics and dichotomy, this principle. He said that in the wake of increasing complexity of the governance, it is desirable that both of them work together, respecting the jurisdiction of each other and not making undue, undesirable interference in the core areas of each other, core jurisdiction of each other. So he rejected the politics administration dichotomy, this doctrine of politics administration dichotomy as given by Woodrow Wilson. And the third thing, that democratization of administration. Democratization of administration is something which was emphasized more than anything by Vincent Ostrom. He was of the view that administrative machinery should be designed in such a way that they are found to be, designed in such a way that they are found to have a kind of organic connectedness with the society. It means administration should not appear to be in isolation from the environment and the society. to which they have to provide all goods and services. So administration should constantly be in touch with society. For that, if required, institutional means and mechanism can be devised, rules and procedures can be simplified. But whatever you do, you should know that it is a necessity. If you really want an efficient administration, it is necessary that administration and society should be connected to each other. They should have very good interaction with each other. In this way, you can improve the level of public trust and public confidence. Point is clear? And one more thing, that democratization of administration means that administration should acknowledge and appreciate the role which public at large or the civil society, or several agencies, organizations can play in motivating the political response or behavior of the government. Are you getting a point? It means Vincent Ostrom suggests that administration and the government should acknowledge and appreciate the role which society can play in motivating the government to frame certain policies or to take certain decisions. If governmental actions at the top are largely inspired by public spirited individuals, they express concern and they suggest government what to do and what not to. So there can be much better equation of relationship between, very efficient, very good equation of relationship between the government on the one hand and society on the other. It does not mean that on each and every matter the government is supposed to be governed by, public opinion. But as far as possible, when you are dealing with the subject matter, the consequence of which is going to be affected, is going to affect the people at large. As far as possible on those matters, you should try to get public opinion through one other ways and means. In this way, you can democratize your administration. Democratization of administration means bringing administration closer to society, closer to common people. And you can bring administration closer to common people only by interacting with them, knowing their likes, dislikes and preferences. It does not mean that administration ends up losing its distinct institutional identity. It means that your institutional identity has to be understood, has to be defined, has to be practiced in such a way that your people should never feel that administration comes from a different world. What is clear? And the last one is decentralization of administration. Decentralization of administration, decentralized administration under public choice theory does not mean, you're not supposed to take conventional meaning of decentralization, that there is an organization and the organization has tens of branches all over the country. So decentralization, no, this is not the idea. Under public choice theory, decentralization means that within a particular territorial unit, you have more than one institutions competing against each other. It is not like you have BSNL or MTNL and they have 150 branches all over the country. Rather, it is about BSNL, MTNL, ASNL, GSNL, number of public agencies, and then private institutional agencies as well, and all of them providing in different zone the same goods and services so that there could be competition. Getting a point? It is about more than one institutions providing same goods and services in any area so that there is a competition and there is a wide range of goods and services, and so that people could choose whatever they want to choose. It means as per their likes, dislikes and preferences, they get value for their money. In this way, you can ensure economic empowerment. Though in a limited sense, but economic empowerment can be accomplished like this. This is the idea of public choice. So decentralization, the meaning of decentralization under public choice theory, meaning of decentralized administration is different from what we construe, by the word decentralization in general sense. Instead of one institution having more than one branches, you have more than one institutions having branches in different areas competing against each other.